Well, time for the Minister actually to sit here and talk about it. Vic Taves, Minister of Public Safety, joins me now. Thanks very much for being here.
Thank you.
You were shaking your head a lot at what Kevin Page was saying and then certainly what Mark Holland was saying. But let's try and address his questions one by one here. First of all, overall, why did Kevin Page have so much difficulty getting information from the government so he could cost this out?
I'm not aware of any difficulties that he had. In fact, I've spoken to Correction Services Canada. They've indicated to me that they're willing to meet with him.
Well, he said meetings were canceled, and
I'm told that a meeting was canceled, but there were various alternatives put to him, and those meetings were never completed by Mr. Page. So I don't understand where the difficulty is. Correction Services Canada tells me that they were open to meet with him, but that those meetings never took place.
Are you concerned, though, that the Parliamentary Budget Officer would say one thing and Corrections Canada would say something else? I mean, is this worth you looking into to find out what's going on?
In fact, I have looked at it, and they've indicated that the allegations made are not accurate. And so where the discrepancy is, I don't quite understand. Now, the Parliamentary Budget Officer also indicated that the cost was going to be $10 billion. Now he says it's $5 billion.
Well, that's to the federal government.
Well,
He says $1 billion a year to the feds.
All right. And our estimates is that over 5 years, our numbers are that it will be $2 billion. The original $90 million that Mark Holland referred to, of course, is the appropriation for the first year when it isn't ramped up. But as it ramps up, we believe that eventually it'll cost us the $2 billion over the 5 years. And I've always made that clear, but there's been a deliberate misrepresentation in that respect.
Well, let's deal with the discrepancy between yourself and the Parliamentary Budget Officer, $3 billion between your position and his position. Have you come out with your own public costing of this? I mean, he's come out with numbers in terms of number of extra days going to be served, 159, and how you're going to do that within the existing prison facility when there aren't enough beds, and we know we signed a UN convention saying we're not going to double up.
Well, that's not correct.
But we didn't sign that?
Well, in fact, there is nothing prohibiting double bunking or double occupancy. There has to be, in fact, cells as a general rule that are built to hold two individuals. But even the issue of so-called double bunking, that is putting two bunks in one cell, does not violate any UN convention.
So is that what we're planning to do then?
There are going to be some double capacity cells being constructed, and there may well be some double bunking in the interim. But the point is that there's presently room in our facilities to hold more, especially in minimum security prisons. I've gone over these numbers many times with Correction Services Canada. They indicate to me the cost is going to be $2 billion. If Kevin Page wants to sit down with Corrections Canada, I would encourage him to do that.
He indicated that he's been trying to, but hasn't been able to get through. But let's also take a look at the cost to the provinces, because I think I saw your head shaking when he was talking about that as well. He maintains that there is going to be a big cost to the provinces in all of this. You're saying that's not the case.
That's not the case. In fact, I was a provincial attorney general. This legislation is legislation that we have been calling for as provincial attorneys general for years, because we realize that what the legislation presently does is create a revolving door. So the point that the individual was making, Mr. Page was making, that the average sentence will be 159 days longer in terms of serving the time, that may well be correct. But we're not dealing with 4,000 new individuals. We're dealing with the same individuals who are chronic offenders, who create all kinds of difficulties out on the street when they're loose. The cost of crime to Canadians on an annual basis is $70 billion. $70 billion. These same individuals, if they're incarcerated, do not create the difficulties which we know.
But will the provinces, how much are they going to have to pony up for this?
Well, there will be some cost, but in fact, the 2-for-1 credit system transfers the costs from the province to the federal institutions, because there is no more an incentive to remain in remand when your 2-for-1 or 3-for-1 credit system is gone. You then say, all right, I better get to trial, get my sentence, and then get into the federal facility, because there's no incentive to stay in the provincial institution.
we've only got a few seconds left, but let me throw this one at you because it was one of the other things that Kevin Page brought up. Has this money been accounted for and has been set aside, whether it's $3 billion, $2 billion, or $5 billion?
Well, that'll all be done in the fiscal framework. I'm advised that it's going to cost $2 billion for the next year or two. I believe the amount of money being appropriated is $89 million, but we understand that as the legislation is fully in effect, it will cost us approximately $2 billion over 5 years.
So that's going to have to go in a future budget somewhere.
Absolutely.
To
Absolutely. That's
that.
the way we do budgeting in this country.
Okay. Vic Taves, Minister of Public Safety, thanks very much for being here.
Thank
as
you.
always. Appreciate your time. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to be back right after this. Stay with us.